Japan does not have mild summers. Tokyo in August sits at 35 degrees with humidity so thick it feels like the air itself is sweating. Kyoto, surrounded by mountains that trap heat, is famous among Japanese people for being almost unbearable in July. The summers are long, brutal, and genuinely dangerous. And yet the average Japanese household runs its air conditioning significantly less than the average Western one, facing far milder summers. Not because Japanese homes are better insulated, not because Japanese people tolerate discomfort better, but because over centuries of surviving heat without mechanical cooling, Japan developed a set of habits that manage summer heat in ways most of the Western world never learned. Here are 17 of them. 1. They cool the body, not the room. This is the foundational principle behind almost everything else on this list. Western cooling strategy is room-based. Run the air conditioner until the ambient temperature drops to something comfortable. The machine burns energy cooling every cubic meter of air in the space whether a human body is present or not. Japanese cooling strategy is body-based. Cool the person rather than the space. A cold towel on the neck. A hand fan creating airflow directly against skin. Clothing designed to promote evaporation. Cooling patches on pulse points. The energy difference is enormous. A body has roughly 2 square meters of surface area. A room has 50 cubic meters of air. Cooling the body directly is orders of magnitude more efficient, and Japan has built an entire material culture around doing exactly that. 2. They use hand fans everywhere. The uchiwa, a flat bamboo and paper fan, is found in convenience stores, distributed as advertising, tucked into bags across the country from June through September. The sensu, a folding fan, is carried as a standard summer accessory. Neither requires electricity. Moving air against skin accelerates evaporation of moisture, which is how the body cools itself naturally. The fan amplifies that mechanism at zero energy cost. It sounds almost too simple. It works immediately and consistently. 3. They wear linen and cotton, always. Japanese summer clothing is built around natural fibers that breathe, wick moisture, and allow airflow against skin. The traditional jinbei, loose cotton or linen loungewear, exists specifically for this purpose. Synthetic fibers trap heat and hold moisture against the body, making ambient temperature feel significantly higher than it is. Natural fibers absorb moisture, allow it to evaporate, and keep a layer of moving air between fabric and skin. Switching the fabric of your hottest month's clothing from synthetic to linen changes how the same temperature feels in a way that is immediately noticeable. 4. They hang sudare reed screens outside their windows. The sudar, thin bamboo or reed slats hung outside the window frame, blocks solar heat before it reaches the glass. This is the critical distinction. An interior blind blocks light after solar radiation has already entered the room and converted to heat. An exterior screen blocks it before that happens. The US Department of Energy has quantified this. Exterior shading blocks up to 65% of solar heat gain on south-facing windows and up to 77% on west-facing ones. Interior blinds block around 45%. A sudar costs a few dollars, installs on a simple hook, and eliminates 3/4 of the heat pouring through your worst windows every afternoon. 5. They open the right windows, not all of them. A single open window creates almost no useful airflow. Air entering through one opening has nowhere to go and eddies near the window without penetrating the room. 2 openings on opposite walls create a path for air to move through the space. The Japanese habit is to identify where the breeze is coming from and open windows that create a path through the home in that direction. A window on the shaded side for intake, a window on the warm side for exhaust. Even on still days, the temperature difference between the 2 sides creates airflow through the stack effect. Warm air rising and escaping through the higher opening, drawing cooler air in through the lower one. Opening the right 2 windows costs nothing and produces immediate airflow, where opening every window produces almost none. 6. They flush the house with cool night air. Once outdoor temperature drops below indoor temperature after sunset, Japanese homes open completely, every window, every door, to flush the accumulated heat of the day out of the building. Walls, floors, and furniture that absorbed heat throughout the day cool down. At sunrise, before outdoor temperature climbs back above indoor, everything closes tight. That coolness is trapped inside the thermal mass of the building and carries through much of the following day. A cheap indoor-outdoor thermometer shows you exactly when the crossover point occurs. Open everything at that moment, close everything, curtains included, at sunrise. The house stays noticeably cooler than the outside temperature well into the afternoon, reducing how much the air conditioning needs to run during the hottest part of the day. 7. They sprinkle water outside their homes. Uchimitsu. Dating to the Edo period, the practice of sprinkling water on the pavement and ground immediately outside the home in the late afternoon. When water converts to vapor, it draws heat from its surroundings. The ground gives up that heat, the surface cools, and the air immediately above it cools with it. The Tokyo government has run a citywide Uchimitsu campaign since 2003. Measured temperature drops at event sites averaged around 1 degree Celsius, with some locations recording drops of 2.5 degrees. Use a hose or watering can once the sun gets low. Sprinkle across your driveway or patio. The cost is the water. The result is a cooler microclimate around your home through the hottest part of the evening. 8. They eat cold foods that lower body temperature. Japanese summer food is engineered around lowering body temperature through what you eat as much as through the environment around you. Hiyashi chuka, cold ramen, salmon, thin noodles eaten cold in ice water. Hiyayako, chilled silken tofu. Kakigori, shaved ice. Mugicha, cold roasted barley tea consumed by the pitcher throughout the day. A cold bowl of salmon at lunch lowers core temperature in a way that a hot meal raises it, and the difference in how the afternoon feels afterward is significant. Diet is part of the cooling system, not separate from it. 9. They take cool baths in the afternoon. The ofuro, typically filled to 40 degrees in winter, drops significantly in summer. Lukewarm baths at around 32 to 35 degrees lower core temperature without triggering the cold response that causes the body to generate heat in return. Timing matters. A cool bath in the late afternoon lowers core temperature at the moment it is most needed, makes the hours before sleep more comfortable, and means the body doesn't have to work as hard to cool itself through the night. A simple adjustment to the temperature of water you're already using. No additional cost. Immediate effect. 10. They use cooling patches and cooling towels. Japan has developed an entire product category around portable direct body cooling that has no real equivalent in most Western markets. Cooling patches, adhesive gel sheets applied to the forehead or back of the neck, provide hours of localized cooling through gradual evaporation. Cooling towels retain cold water and maintain a cooling effect against skin for extended periods. Cooling sprays with menthol create an immediate sensation of cold and promote evaporative cooling. These are found in every convenience store from May through September, used as a first response to feeling overheated rather than immediately reaching for the air conditioning remote. Energy cost 0. Cooling effect immediate. 11. They use bamboo and linen bedding. Synthetic bedding traps body heat and moisture, creating a warm, damp environment that fragments sleep and prevents the rest the body needs to recover from the heat of the day. Japanese summer bedding is built from materials that do the opposite. Bamboo fiber sheets, naturally thermoregulating, moisture wicking, cooler to the touch than cotton or synthetics. Linen covers that breathe without holding moisture. Traditional bamboo sleeping mats that allow air circulation beneath the body and stay cool against skin throughout the night. The sleeping surface changes how the same bedroom temperature feels by several degrees of comfort. Switching from synthetic to bamboo or linen bedding produces a change noticeable from the first night. 12. They set the air conditioning to 28 degrees. Japan is not air conditioning free. AC units are present in most Japanese homes, but the way they are used is different. The Japanese government recommends 28 degrees as the summer AC standard, significantly higher than the 22 or 23 degrees many Western households target. With a fan circulating air, appropriate clothing, a hand fan, and a cold drink, 28 degrees feels entirely comfortable. The energy difference between maintaining a room at 28 and 22 is significant. The lower the target, the exponentially more energy required. Using AC to reach a reasonable temperature and combining it with everything else on this list to make that temperature comfortable uses a fraction of the energy of running it continuously to a low target. 13. They use fans strategically. A fan doesn't cool air, It moves air, and moving air accelerates evaporation from skin. A fan in an empty room does nothing to the temperature of that room. Japanese fan use reflects this. Fans are positioned to create airflow across the body, rather than simply circulate room air. A fan facing outward through a window, pulling air through from an opening on the opposite side, actively replaces hot indoor air with cooler outdoor air. A fan combined with a slightly damp cooling towel creates an evaporative effect that drops perceived temperature by several degrees. Used in combination with cross-ventilation, a fan amplifies the effect of the ventilation significantly. It is a force multiplier for every other method on this list. 14. They grow green curtains outside their windows. Midori no Katten, fast-growing vines, bitter melon, morning glory, trained up a simple trellis outside south and west-facing windows to create a living screen that blocks solar radiation and cools through transpiration. The Tokyo government has promoted green curtains as a summer cooling measure since 2009. They cost almost nothing beyond seeds and a basic trellis. They grow quickly. They block solar heat gain at a rate comparable to any manufactured shading product. Bitter melon produces food while it shades. The leaves cool the air immediately outside the window through evaporation from their surfaces. Exterior shading at its most efficient and its most alive. 15. They dress their homes for summer. Just as clothing changes for summer, Japanese homes change their material environment for the season. Heavy winter rugs replaced with bamboo or rush grass mats, cooler underfoot, better for air circulation at floor level. Thick curtains replaced with thin linen panels that filter light without trapping heat. Heavy cushions covered with cotton or linen that don't hold heat against the body. A room dressed in heavy textiles holds heat. A room dressed in light natural materials allows it to dissipate. The comfort difference between the two at the same ambient temperature is immediate and requires no energy to achieve. 16. They eat lighter and earlier in the evening. A large hot meal in the evening generates significant body heat through digestion and raises core temperature at the moment the body is trying to cool down for sleep. Japanese summer evening meals are lighter, more cold dishes, more raw ingredients, more fermented foods requiring no cooking, eaten earlier, well before sunset, so digestion is substantially complete before the hottest part of the evening and before the attempt to sleep. A cold meal eaten at 6 leaves the body significantly cooler and more comfortable at 10 than a hot meal eaten at 8. The meal is part of the cooling system. 17. They embrace the season rather than fighting it. Japan has a cultural relationship with summer that treats it as a season with its own character and its own particular beauty, rather than a problem to be solved by sealing every building and running mechanical cooling until it's over. Summer festivals, fireworks by the river, shaved ice in the afternoon, cold barley tea through the day, wind chimes, furin, hung at entrances whose sound is culturally associated with coolness and a breeze. These are not coping mechanisms. They are the experience of summer as something worth having rather than something worth escaping. And the practical consequence is a relationship with summer heat that requires significantly less energy to maintain, because the goal is not to eliminate the heat entirely, but to live well within it. A furin costs a few dollars and hangs from a hook at your window. It doesn't lower the temperature, but it changes the experience of the temperature, and sometimes that is the more useful thing. 17 habits, most of them free, all of them stackable. Japan developed these habits because for most of its history, it had no alternative. The air conditioning came later, the habits came first. And what those habits produced, a way of living well in serious heat without making a machine do all the work, is exactly what the rest of the world needs right now. Start with the window that faces west. Hang something outside it. Feel the difference by afternoon. Then add the next one.